Chris Evert, on her way to the final, had a relatively easy time of it. You see the scores against Alicia Moulton, for example, Melissa Gurney, 11-2, then against Terry Phelps, 1-4, Pascal Paradis from France. Sukova gave her the toughest match. That was in the quarterfinal. It was a night match. Some concern by Sukova about line calls. Chris said, hey, we both got a few one way or the other. And then that Mary Jo Fernandez match, 6-2, 6-1 in the semifinals. Steffi Graf had also a relatively easy time of it. You see, 6-2, 6-2, Novotna of Russia in the first round. Sarah Goma, Great Britain, 1-3. Rosalind Fairbanks, a tiebreaker. That's as well as anyone has done against Steffi Graf in this tournament so far. Joe Dury of Great Britain, Coda Kirsch, also from West Germany, was a match of the German Titans in the quarterfinals. And then Stephanie Ray, he started out well in that match with Steffi Graf, but then faded, and Steffi won it. Graf did anyway, 6-3, 6-1. Not much trouble, Pam, for either player to get to the final.
No, the one match that Chrissy had with Sukova was quite a match, and Steffi's rebounded fairly well from her loss of 2 weeks ago, but today is obviously the big test, the finals against Chris Evert, someone who's very much at home in South Florida in the wind, and Chrissy has won the toss, or at least she is serving.
They have played each other, as you can see, 10 times. Graf has won 5, the last 5 as a matter of fact. So Chris beat Steffi 5 times in a row. When Steffi was younger, in the last 2 years, she has not beaten the number 1 in the world. First point.
One of the keys to this match will be Chris's first serve percentage. She doesn't want to hit a lot of second serves to Steffi.
We saw Steffi Graf in Australia. She played outstanding tennis to win that championship. Chris beat Martina in the semi-final and lost to Steffi in the final. But in the last couple of weeks, Steffi has shown that she's human anyway. That big forehand of hers, Pam, seems, at least temporarily, to have deserted her, not entirely, but to some extent. Here's Chris's footwork.
Chris's footwork is incredible. It's all the players really look to Chris as a fine example of how to move at the back of the court. Now we'll see what Steffi Graf's attitude is on this second serve by Chris Evert.
Maybe a bit too soon to tell, Cliff, but I think the crowd is going to be in Chris's favor, even though she is 32 and Steffi Graf is still a teenager. It's David and Goliath in reverse.
I think that's understandable. Firstly, Chris is a local. She lives just about a, 40-minute drive from here. And, well, Steffi's the number 1. Chris is the underdog.
This first game is incredibly important for Chris because a couple of times in the last year she's been destroyed by Steffi Graf. She was unable to even get into the match. So if Chris could change ends, up one love, it would give her a great deal of confidence. She has a game point to do just that.
I don't want to make more of it than there is, Pam, but Steffi Graf has been making errors off the forehand in the last few weeks, so it is not as invincible a shot as everybody was saying just about a year ago.
And Cliff, you know, there are two instances when she does make that forehand error, I think, when she is really pressed to her right, when she is really pressed and has very little time to set up, and secondly, when she's running around her backhand, she is liable to make mistakes on her forehand.
Game point.
Now, do we see Steffi Graf moving over to straddle the sideline? Will Chris rather double fault again?
The forehand fear factor is what I refer to what the players feel when we play Steffi Graf. And I'll tell you what, it can reach across the net and really grab you by the head and strangle you. It is a tough thing to face. And we saw in that rally a perfect example of Steffi taking control with the forehand.
Got a little bit ahead of that one.
Arthur, you talked about attacking the second serve and Steffi doing it. That's Andy Mill. The interesting thing is somebody suggested to me that Chris may be tempted to do the same thing because Steffi has an attackable second serve.
Very much so. I don't think Chris will do it, though.
Neither do I. Break point.
There, she was pressed from the forehand, driven deep to her right-hand side in the corner, and because her backswing is late, typically on her forehand, she sometimes doesn't have time to wind up and hit the ball properly.
First game of the match. We're only 5 minutes into it, but we're still in the first game. This is the third deuce.
But Cliff and Pam, you can also tell that Steffi has a great deal of respect for Chris's passing shots, because if Steffi were playing anybody else, she would have come to the net several times by now, probably. But she knows Chris's passing shots are so good, even though she's hit the ball well, she stayed at the baseline.
And it's Chrissy we've seen come to net twice this game and won both points, which is fantastic for Chris's confidence to realize that she can win points from both the back of the court and by asserting herself. Here's the forehand approach, which she missed one earlier in the game, and a fairly easy volley into the open court. It's deuce.
I might add, she's come to the net on the approach out in the forehand both times.
That was a perfect example. You could see Graf leaning to the backhand side, thinking that Chrissy was going to hit to the backhand, and instead there you can see the weight transfer, and she was a little bit late and not able to get it and missed the shot, Arthur, that you spoke about earlier.
Game point for Evert. If Pam is right, that was a big game for Evert, and she won it. 1 game to love, first set.
Patterns on her serve. She likes to bring people out wide on both sides of the court.
We might see a double fault here. Windy. Ooh.
Plus, she also throws the ball up a little higher. That the wind may affect it. Andy Mill is at the court side. Andy, we welcome you. How did you feel about that first game from fiancé Chris?
Well, I think it's going to be a war out here today. It's going to be a very long match. Chrissy came walking by after that first game, and she said that she's absolutely exhausted already. Now, whether that could be nerves or the heat, I'm not really sure, but I think we're looking for a long one.
Dirty love. I'm going to judge that Chris feels that way, and it's an interesting comment from Andy Miller courtside, by the way, because the tension out there, I think, is something special for Chris. This is her hometown, and I think in her mind, she thinks she has a chance to win this.
That's the serve that Steffi Graf has been hitting so well.
Andy, would you agree with that assessment? Do you think Chris...
Yeah, very much. Her attitude over this last year and a half when she played Steffi has fluctuated quite a bit, but I think today she's very up. I think she's been playing well, and I think in the back of her mind she knows that if she plays her abilities, she can win today.
1 game all. First set, best of 3, of course. This is the title match of the Lipton International Players Championship.
One thing that might make this match tough for Chrissy is that she doesn't have a serve that can win her a lot of free points in her service games, whereas Steffi Graf, when she's serving well, can win a lot of free points. So Chrissy's going to have to work very hard for all her service games.
Went for too big a shot. Very tempting. Steffi Graf frequently tries to make what looks to be a defensive shot and turn it into an offensive one, and there she just could not make the transition.
Mats Wilander improved his play about 18 months ago when he got married and his personal life settled down. And I want to ask Andy Mill to answer after this point whether you think that your relationship with Chris is going to help her on court too.
Life being stable obviously helps, but I think what's more important is her own mind and her own association with the game of tennis. If she's excited about playing, if she's happy, if she's having fun playing, and if she's doing well, then she's going to be playing that much better. The personal life helps, but it's really directly her relationship with the game that really matters.
Pam, Steffi keeps trying to hit her heavy slice backhand into mid-court to Chris Evert. Do you think she's trying to draw her in as we take a peek at her footwork there, going side to side?
Well, everyone knows that Chrissy doesn't like, look at her bounce on the feet. For 18 years old, she moves unbelievably well. But to answer your question...
Is she trying to bring her into the net?
Right. I think that everyone realizes that Chrissy is not as comfortable into the forecourt, but Steffi always hits that slice backhand very firm, low to the net, and sometimes it goes short, so I'm not sure it's really on purpose.
This is a break point. Steffi Graf had a break point in the first
serving, and she's serving into the sun now.
Right. Second of the match. Double fault, and Steffi Graf with a break leads it 2-1. To serve, but there's been a delay because there are a lot of folks still coming into this 12,000-seat arena. It's sold out, and their players are waiting for everyone to settle down. There she goes.
Now, it's very important that Chrissy takes her time after this point. That was an incredibly long point, very draining. And Steffi likes to get on with the play right away. And I think it would be wise if Chrissy made Steffi wait a little bit.
Steffi doesn't mess about, not only between points, but at the changeover, too. She sits down, tells off, gets up, and ready to go. All business.
What about Chris's condition? Is he going to get tired today? It's almost 90 degrees. You got to know the court temperature is over 100.
Chrissy's in tremendous shape, though. Even though people talk about her age quite a bit, someone who's 33 years old should still be at the back end of their prime of their career, I believe. It all depends on desire, and I feel Chris's desire is tremendous right now.
Today, the Pro Bowlers Tour and ABC's Wide World of Sports. And remember to join us tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern Time in the afternoon for the men's final. Tell you what, Mats Wilander, who won in Australia, is playing unbelievable tennis, and he's going to be playing against Jimmy Connors in the match. 2-1, breaker serve 30-15 to Graf.
And that was the first point Steffi Graf had lost on her serve.
Just inside the baseline. Just takes a quick peek at that ball and called good. Jeremy Shales made famous here 2 years ago because the problems he got into with Jimmy Connors when he was sitting in the chair.
And there's a piece of paper blowing on the court that a ball boy's running to pick up. 40-15, Steffi Graf serving for a 3-1 advantage first set.
Oh, well, late call. It looked long from here. Of course, we're at the opposite end of the court.
And there was an example of a free point. Steffi Graf hit a big first serve. Chrissy couldn't quite handle the pace and hit the ball just long over the baseline.
The crowd are going to get involved. Why not? They are, as you both said, pulling for Chris today. Here's a replay of it.
But as you say, Cliff, when the crowd does get into it, they tend to want to shade a little bit for their favorite. In this case, I think it's clearly Chris Evert.
They just want to be a part of the action. 3-1, Steffi Graf, #1 in the world, and Evert serving. He's a break behind.
rather. Just missed that single sideline. Not more than an inch or two.
It's very interesting. It's the first time I can remember seeing Steffi Graf hit a topspin lob off the forehand. Everyone always waits for her to blast it, and you can see it caught Chris by surprise, and she hit a tremendous shot, which makes me a little bit frightened to think that she has another shot in her repertoire.
Well, that wasn't a very clean topspin lob. Jim took it pretty good up there.
Well, she has the luxury of being able to work on her game because she has so many easy matches, Pam. She already has that vicious slice backhand that you talked about. She can come over it on the passing shot, so she's got pretty good variety as it is.
So far in the match, I'm trying to think if Chris has done anything very different. I'd say the one thing is she has hit more approach shots than I've seen her hit in other matches, probably believing that she can't stay at the baseline all day long and win a higher percentage of the rallies.
Called good. We can't see the sideline person from here, but I think it was good.
And you heard Steffi yell, yes, because she played the point wonderfully. She used her forehand. Matter of fact, Chrissy had trouble finding the backhand of Steffi Graf. There was a forehand hit from the backhand side of the court, and another one. And Chrissy there, she hits a very good shot, and Graf says, okay, take that right on the line.
That gives her a break point. If she converts on this point, it'll give her 2 break points and a 4-1 lead. First set, best of 3.
And ace. No doubt about that. Just inside the center service line. First ace for Chris Evert.
That's one of those free points, Arthur, which
yes,
you
were
used
just talking about.
and
yes.
you used a few times in your career.
More than a few.
Well, Cliff was a little slow to his right.
That's not true. He used to. Well, yeah, that's true, but he used to whack those things flat.
Well, what's uppermost in Steffi's mind now, as the three of us surely know, is that even though you have a break up on Chris Evert, you want another one. You want an insurance break, and that's desperately what she's trying to do now. That's why Steffi may appear to be a little tight.
Chris covered and holds on. 3 games to 2. That was a big point for her. First set, still 1 break for Steffi Graf, the number 1 seed and the number 1 player in the world. Back with more in a moment. 3-2. Graf serving. You know, it was 3 years ago, right here on this same island of Key Biscayne, that Chris turned things around against Martina Navratilova. She'd beaten her 13 times in a row, and Chris finally beat Martina, and since then, they've played almost even. Against Steffi Graf, she has lost the last 5 in a row. She'd like to do the same thing here. But Graf has 30 love and serving for 4-2 first set.
And there you saw Chrissy get as angry as she gets on the court, Cliff. She took that
did
ball.
surprise me.
And
You don't see her doing that very often.
First ace. It's one apiece.
Well, if that's the most she ever does when she gets mad, I don't think we have anything to worry about. If Chris could change something in her game at her age now, what would she change?
There we see Steffi's father, Peter Graf, who travels everywhere with his #1 ranked daughter. I think Chrissy would probably like to try and win more free points on the serve. She always talks to me, and she always says with great envy how lucky I am that I have the big serve.
Great volley.
Cliff, you know, right there is one area where I think Steffi actually could improve. When she moves side to side, even though she does so very quickly, you watch her moving there, she bounces up in the air too much. And when she's caught up in the air, she has to come down before she can reverse directions. And sometimes she's caught going the wrong way.
Interesting point. She hits a lot of shots, including the serve in the air.
Yes. So as good as her footwork is, it could be a bit better if her head didn't go up and down so much. She wouldn't get caught in mid-cycle, so to speak.
Is she the quickest player on the tour, Pam?
Top 2 or 3, it's tough to differentiate really between Martina, Steffi. Even Chrissy from the back of the court moves very well.
30 love.
Zina Garrison, another very quick player.
Well, since there aren't too many girls that actually serve and volley, how does that foot quickness translate into a fear on the court? I mean, is there something specific that this quickness of foot does for women players, since they don't serve and volley anyway?
Game point for Evert.
Just long.
Well, actually, in the top 10, you have Steffi Graf, who is a baseliner, but an extremely aggressive baseliner, and you have Martina at 2, and Chrissy at 3, and then I'm 4, Sabatini 5. You have a great deal of variety, and obviously speed of court is very key. And everyone has their preferences. Chrissy, it moves better at the back of the court because that's where she spends the most time.
Matching Steffi Graf, stroke for stroke, but she's a breaker serve behind in the first set. Gabriella Sabatini became the 3rd youngest women player to make $1 million. The others were Steffi Graf, of course, and
Tracy Austin.
Tracy Austin.
On the line.
That was in spite of her loss, excuse me, Pam, in this tournament to Mary Jo Fernandez, who had a great tournament, but it was just almost 2 weekends ago to the day that she beat Steffi Graf, and that's the only time Steffi Graf has lost since the U.S. Open last year.
Still, Steffi Graf has only lost 1 point on her serve, and here it is 4-3 in the first set.
Great stuff.
Well, Chris certainly went to the right place, right down the middle to Steffi's forehand, who tried to reflex it back, and then she made the backhand volley. See, watch that again.
Here Chrissy comes up the net, and here's a very interesting shot by Steffi. And that's twice now that Chrissy has won the duel up at net where both players are up there.
I'll tell you honestly that Steffi has looked to me in the last couple of weeks a little lackadaisical, something I've never seen before. Not today, though.
Not at all.
That's all changed.
I was going to say, she's come out here firing. She realizes people are talking about her a little bit, about her confidence level. For the first time in this match, Chrissy has gotten to 30 on Steffi Graf's serve. And Steffi has handled being ranked #1 in the world extremely well, I feel. She's only 18 years old. She's got a lot of burdens on her shoulders, a lot of pressure that goes with this position, and she's handling it very, very well.
Break point for Evert.
Now, of course, this is where we're liable to see a double fault from Steffi Graf. I'm going out on the limb, but I've just seen it happen before. I'm watching her play. And she's serving into the sun. Let's see.
The gutsy call. I like it.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the chances certainly do go up.
What do you think, Cliff? Arthur's got a chance here.
I wouldn't bet on it. Chrissy has broken back 4 games all. In the first set, this is the best of 3.
And now we've got a duel.
112,005 to the winner. They have both already made more than 56,000, as you see. Four games all. Steffi Graf actually nearly pulled out of this tournament. She had a virus all of the week before this tournament, requested a Wednesday start and got it. So she stayed.
Well, in any match Steffi Graf plays, we look to her forehand, and so far she's only hit 2 winners, and she's made 7 errors, and that's possibly why Chris Evert is still in this first set at 4-all.
You saw 2 distinct backhands there from Steffi Graf, that vicious underspin slice and then the topspin shot.
The high one looks like Yannick Noah's or Gabriela Sabatini's.
Evert is in trouble on serve at 4-all. It's love 30.
Steffi can afford to gamble on this point because she is up love 30. that's a perfect example of when Steffi Graf's forehand reaches across the net to Chris on that serve, and I believe forced that double fault. Chris did not want to have to hit to that forehand.
Interesting how when she gets down low 40 and she gets a shot like that, she'll hit the approach shot, come in, but in regular play, when the pressure's not on, she'll just stay at the baseline. Felt she had nothing to lose.
This is really superlative tennis. 5 games to 4 when we come back. Steffi Graf will serve for the first set. For the first set, Graf is serving. Last time she served from the other end, she was broken.
Of course, the wind was moving that ball across the court, and it looked as if the wind took that ball a little bit, but Chrissy knows how to play in the wind as well as anybody.
Almost in exactly the same spot. Steffi Graf now 2 points from the set.
It's very unusual to see Chris make 2 relatively unforced errors in such a big game as this. 5-4 first set.
So the familiar determination that has been lacking to some extent in Steffi Graf's game of late is back. This is triple set point.
Steffi Graf played a fantastic service game. It's incredible. She has dominated her service games except for that one service game that she dropped. Otherwise, she's lost 1 point in all the other service games.
That certainly makes up, sorry Cliff, it certainly makes up for the forehand errors. No question about that.
3 serve breaks. Chris was broken twice, Steffi broken once. That's Andy Mill, and there's Peter Graf. Steffi's father, who protects her, by the way, very well. Keeps her away from all the people that want to talk to her. Get a comment from Andy Miller, who's down at courtside. Andy, first set, well, it wasn't what you would have liked to have seen, of course. Having some trouble with Andy's microphone at courtside. We'll try him in a moment.
Yeah, I hear you, Joe.
Go ahead, Andy. Your impressions of the first set, please.
What was the question?
The question was your impressions of the first set.
I think she played really well. She hit out on the ball extremely well, except for a 4-all. I think she had a very poor service game there, and she was a little passive. She was a little bit, guiding the ball a little bit too much the last couple of points, but I think she'll start playing a little looser, and if she does, she'll be all right.
Thank you, Andy. We'll keep going back to you from time to time.
Chrissy would be encouraged by that first set because she's played her a number of times and been blown out in first sets. And I believe she thinks that if she hangs in there, that Graf will make a string of errors at some point in this second set.
Because last year when she played it, the score was 6-1, 6-2.
match that Arthur is talking about was played here last year, of course, was a very quick match. The last time they played was in Australia, and on that occasion, Graf won the first set relatively easily, was on a roll in the second set at 5-1. Chrissy came back to, I believe it was a tiebreak in that second set. Break point.
Partially luck.
Well, I'll tell you what, they were speed. She's broken in the second set already.
And she has tremendous legs. I mean, she has unbelievable development for a woman of 18 years old. She's very powerful.
She certainly is. Well, 61%. Versus 70% for Graf, although Evert, rather. Double faults have hurt.
Once again, Steffi's rolling on her service game, up 30-love.
There again, the forehand error when she was rushed, didn't have enough time.
But she has a break in the second set. She won the first 6-4, and it's 30-15. .40-15 now for Graf. I'm Cliff Drysdale along with Pam Shriver and Arthur Ashe. This is the final of the women's singles from the Lipton International Players Championship. You're looking on live from Key Biscayne. Chris Evert and Steffi Graf. 6-4 first set for Evert. 1 game to love, I should say, for Graf. And then as you watch this point again, I'll tell you that Graf has won the first game with a break in the second set. This is game point at 40-15. Men's final tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern Time. Mats Wilander, Jimmy Connors, best of 5.
Steffi's going over to towel off, which is unusual for her. She usually likes to just roll on with things.
She's still got plenty of time.
Sure, 30 seconds is a very long time.
Yeah, she even towels off quickly. Ooh, that was a tight call. That could have gone either way.
Next, ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour, the True Value Open, and then ABC's Wide World of Sports, racing over 1,100 miles across Alaska's frozen tundra, the grueling Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race, plus Olympic gold medal winners skiers Alberta Tombo and Herman Zubricken. And then the interview with the men's world figure skate champion Brian Boitano. That'll be via satellite from Budapest. He won the World Championship yesterday.
This game is very important important for Chrissy. She's down love 2. If she drops a second service game, gets down love 3, Graf could just steamroll through the second set. She wants to hold on here, but at the back of her mind, she realizes she was down 6-1, 5 love in Australia, and came back to force it to a tiebreak.
Well, she's now 1 for 1. The first one didn't go over, and this one started to trickle on across the net.
30 love.
That's the third drop shot that Steffi Graf has hit off the backhand side. Obviously, deciding to get Chris to net, place where she's not happy, is a good idea. And Chris did have a chance at a volley that someone more familiar with the net probably would have hit a better volley.
Like Martina or Pam Shriver?
Martina, anyway.
To which side is Chris faster? To her left or to her right? I would say to her left.
To the backhand side, yes, I agree.
If you don't rush Steffi on the approach shot, she hits a very good passing shot off both wings.
Well, both times Steffi has brought her to the net, and she tried passing shots on her backhand side. Steffi Graf went down the line.
When I had the match point on Steffi Graf, I played a style of game where I just came to net on everything. Every second serve, even some first serves of Steffi Graf's. On my serve, I served and volleyed. And when I spoke to Chris afterwards, she said, "Wow, Pam, how'd you do it? How'd you almost beat her?" And of course, she realizes that Chris cannot play the same way I played. But she is trying to do some things, change the pace of the ball a little bit. But Chris is a little bit limited in what she can do.
Deuce. Oh. Terrific approach. He hits it flat, rather like Jimmy Connors, and that ball stays so low.
One place Chrissy is not limited is from the back of the court.
Game point. Yes. Two games to 1 for Steffi Graf, and she won the first 6-4. We'll return with more from Key Biscayne after this word from us. Where they walk, well, their feet are about that temperature. Some of that temperature, of course, reflects the reflection of the heat from the court surface, and at head level it is not that hot naturally, but believe me, it is a warm day out there, and Chris, according to Andy Mell, who is down at courtside, was feeling it after just one game. 2 games to 1 for Steffi Graf. In the second set, she won the first 6-4, 15 love.
We have to look at 15-all on Graf's serve, the way she's been serving, as some kind of an opportunity for Chris to try and string together a couple of points to get back even this set. That was a tremendous second serve. You could hear the ball come off the racket with a great deal of spin. It landed deep into the corner, and it handcuffed Chrissy a little bit. It had so much spin.
Approach down the line and then cut off the cross-court forehand. Perfectly anticipated open court volley. Game point. Kirsten Lehman-Hutton presents the Lipton International Players Tennis Championship. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Lipton Side Dishes. Lipton brings you a tradition of delicately seasoned tastes. By the American Express card, membership has its privileges. And by Embassy Suites Hotel. Chris Evert serving, trailing 1-3. Second set, she lost the first.
This is when Chris should take her time. It looked like that shot was a little bit rushed. Take a few extra moments, get her concentration back, make sure she keeps battling on these service games.
If you were allowed to sit courtside and act as Chris's coach right now, down, set, and a break, what would you tell her?
Well, after this point, give me a point to think about it. I'll tell you.
Oh, a nice reflex
I think
backhand winner.
Arthur, starting with that shot, I would tell her to hit more winners, just like that. But Chris is hanging in there. She's tried to do some things. She cannot come to net the way Martina or I would against her, but she's got to wait and hope that Steffi makes some errors. Steffi is not letting her into the match at this point.
Andy Miller's at courtside. Andy, if you were in that position and you had the opportunity to talk to Chris, what would you tell her at this point?
I think Pam's exactly right. You need a little help from Steffi, but Chris is starting to get that first serve in. So that's important, but just to stay up, stay excited about it, stay in the match.
The voice you listened to, if you just joined us, was that of Andy Mill. He and Chris announced their engagement earlier this week, and it was the off-court story of this championship. This is break point. There is Andy. Our congratulations to you both, by the way.
That baselines woman on the far side has had a lot of very close calls today, and the crowd has been on her a bit. Here we see Steffi toweling off.
It's an honor when it goes against Chris. And most of the time it has.
Deuce. Yeah. 12,000-seat arena. Place is jammed.
On the line.
Wide.
Oh,
No call.
The sidelines person is calling it good. It looked wide to us from here, but we'll take another peek.
That's all they did. And I can have the best view of the ball, Steffi. Have the best view of the ball.
That's Jane Tabor of England that Steffi Graf is talking to. She's the chair umpire.
Advantage Evert.
Here's another look.
Yes, take another peek at that one. Here it comes. It's going to be a backhand cross court by Evert. We couldn't see it from here. Steffi was in the way.
Now watch this reaction from Graf. She says, just a second now. You have to have seen that was wide, and Steffi is still talking to the linesperson. But Jane Tabor, the chair umpire, she's not going to overrule. She was way too far away from it. This is game point for Evert.
Steffi said, thank you.
She holds on now, 3-2 second set. First set, 6-4 to Graf. Here's Steffi's reaction. Take a look at that. She says, oh, the heck with it if you're not going to change that. I cannot believe it. Starts to sit down and gets up and finishes the game. Chris won it, of course. It's 3-2 now. Chris is trailing a breaker serve the second set.
This will be very interesting to see if that call doesn't affect Steffi Graf and her emotions. Steffi's been a little bit hard for all of us to figure out in the last couple of years since she's risen to the top of our game. Even though we see her so many weeks of the year, we really don't know her. She doesn't let us get very close to her. She stays with her own little group. She hasn't yet developed a rapport where she's one of the girls.
On the other hand, Pam, I hear that when you do get a one-on-one, she's just a very nice person.
She is very nice. But at this point, she rules the tennis world, so why not be nice?
But isn't it true, Pam, that her father was a boxer?
Well,
Wasn't Peter Graf a boxer?
well, I'm not sure, but if he wasn't, he sure could be.
Well, I think he was a boxer, and that to me explains quite a bit of it, because boxers want to keep their athletes apart.
Big chance for Chris here at love 30. She's trailing 3-2 in the second set. Chris, on the other hand, may be the most recognizable athlete in all of sports. Certainly she is in all of women's athletics, with the possible exception of Martina.
Well, Chrissy's been around an awful long time and been either number 1, number 2 in this sport for 12, 13 years.
Just long. Don't forget that other barometer. She was on the cover of a Wheaties box. That's probably the final decision right there as to her popularity.
Video.
You have to move so violently to cover shots that Steffi hits, and there you saw an example of that from Chris. Well, Chrissy would be disappointed in herself there, I believe. She was up love 30 in this game to pull back to 3-all, and she's lost 3 straight points, and that time she missed a forehand approach deep. Second time she's missed that shot this match. It's not one of her favorites.
From love 30 to 40-30 for Steffi. Game point.
Pressed on the forehand side, tried to make too good a shot. Comes up with an error. Cliff, she has got to get a temporizing shot there when she's pulled wide instead of just going for it. She just makes too many errors over there like that.
Kind of like Miloslav Machir yesterday in the semifinals against Connors.
Steffi's missing some shots. Chris has her second break point to pull back to 3-all in this set. The call in the last game may have gotten on Steffi's nerves a little bit, but the point is Chrissy is in the match.
She had love 30 in this game. Now she's got break point. Into the strength, the forehand side of Steffi Graf. Chris has broken back just like she did in the first set. The score now 3 games all in the second set.
And you're going to see Chrissy wail on a forehand here as hard as she can on the net cord. You can even hear her grunt in this shot. She puts everything behind it. Tremendous time to break serve. Now it's very important, 7th game of the set, Arthur. They always said it's the biggie.
That's the vital 7th, as Bill Tilden used to call it. Ooh. Double fault number 5 from Chris Evert today.
And I guarantee if she wasn't facing Graf's forehand, maybe she would have had 1 or 2.
Low 15.
And we can see Peter Graf very clearly from where we are atop the court. And early on in Steffi's career, Peter, her father, was called for coaching with hand signals, but he hasn't made as much as a twitch with his hand since this match began today. That's Peter Graf. I've been watching him just to see if he has been doing so, and he hasn't done a thing.
Keeping him honest there, Arthur. 15 all, 3 games all, second set. That's wide. Very similar story here in the second set to the first set. Steffi got the first break, Chris broke back, and then Steffi broke back again, and that represented the only breaks in the first set. So far, 1 break apiece here in the second.
And that last Graf error was her 12th so far in the second set. She only had 13 in all of the first set.
Well, there it is, the coup de grace. Unreturnable return of serve from the ad court. Rolled around her backhand and hit it cross court.
When you say only, Pam, I think that's quite a lot, actually. 13 on the average in, let's see, a 10-game set. That's more than 1 a game. It's quite a lot. Of course, she goes for it, so she's going to get the errors.
Exactly.
Big point.
Something
Great approach and wonderful angle on the overhead.
is very interesting about Chris Evert is she has a very fine overhead. That she misses very few. She angles them off beautifully. She doesn't hit it with a great deal of power, but she very seldom misses.
Reminds me of Ken Rosewall. Didn't miss very many, but wasn't very powerful, but he won the point.
She got it. She got it. And she holds on to serve. 4-3. Steffi Graf doesn't like it. She won the first set and is behind in the set. It has been a long time for Evert since she was ahead in a set. She's been trailing almost the entire match. She lost the first set, but for the first time in a while, she's ahead in the second set. 3-4. Graf serving. Andy Miller's at courtside. Things looking a little better for your team, Andy.
Yeah, she's not guiding the ball at all, which she was doing towards the end of the first set, just a little bit. Now she's hitting out. Her first serve is coming. I think she's getting more confidence. Very similar to Australia.
Arthur's watching you, Andy. No coaching, okay?
No hand signals. Now the crowd is caught between wanting to cheer for Chris Evert, but not wanting to appear that they're being too partisan in cheering for Steffi's errors.
There we see another very close call on that baseline. I'm fascinated watching this match because it's very similar to 2 weeks ago when Steffi lost to Sabatini. In that match, Graf won the first set, was up a break in the second, and then fell apart. Here we're going to see that last point where there's a very close call on the baseline. Too close to tell from here. Looks on the line. And then Steffi hits the winner off the next shot. But we've seen the errors creeping more and more into Graf's game. And she's serving now down 3-4.
Some people are saying there is now emerging a German school of tennis, so to speak. Becker, Graf, both go for it. Explosive, hit the ball, see what happens. You're going to have a lot of errors, but if you're good enough with your good ones, you're going to come out ahead.
Break point for Chris. Between the two of them, they've been responsible, Arthur, as you know, and you can, for a tremendous growth and interest in the sport of tennis
all
in
over
Germany
Europe.
And all of Europe.
Yes.
Break point.
Chrissy inside is slapping herself because that was not that tough a serve to return. And when you have a break point,
you want to get it in. Yes.
We saw Chrissy change the pace a bit with a forehand loop, which is something that Steffi does not like to see. She likes to have the constant pace all the time, all the time. Break point for Evert, 5-3 lead in the second set if she wins this point.
quite that tall.
Actually, she guessed right. But had no real chance. So, as you said, Pam, a very big point. She would have been serving for the second set if she'd won it. They're on serve now in the second set. Steffi Graf, #1 player in the world, West Germany, won the first 6-4.
Graf played that point very well. Her slice backhand was within inches of the line, and that's a mark of a #1 player, a real champion. Play those big deuce points to your best.
Four games all. Up next on ABC, Professional Bowlers Tour, and then ABC's Wide World of Sport, the grueling Iditarod Trail sled dog race. And then you'll see the Olympic gold medal winners also on the Wide World of Sports. That'll be Alberto Tombo and Perman Zurbriggen. And then remember the interview that Frank Gifford will do with Brian Boitano, who yesterday from Budapest won the World Championship. That'll be via satellite live with Frank Gifford. And remember that tomorrow at 1:30 you can watch the men's singles final. Mats Wilander will play Jimmy Connors. That's a great shot. Not only has she not lost a set, I guess she's won most of her sets by at least opponents not winning more than 3 games except one tiebreak. But she's ahead here on Chris's serve at 4 games all. This is a vital point for both players.
That was a swinging forehand volley.
And that takes a lot of guts for Chrissy to do that, because we know, Arthur, that that's not her instincts to come to net, but she did it there. She won the point, and now it's 30 all.
This is the Lipton International Players Championship. You're watching Chris Evert, the #2 seed here. Steffi Graf, seeded to win this tournament. Cliff Drysdale with Arthur Ashe and Pam Shriver. Live from Key Biscayne. Best of 3 set match. 6-4 first set to Graf. It's 4 games all in the second set. In 30 all.
I think Chris wanted to take a step back to allow the ball to bounce up a bit higher, but she caught it on a half volley, couldn't quite control it, and now is down break point.
That's something, Arthur, is very important. When you play Steffi, she hits the ball so much harder than most of the rest of us. You've got to stand a couple of feet farther back from the baseline and give yourself a little more time.
Some points are more important than others. This is a biggie. A win here on this point for Steffi Graf, and she will serve for the match.
We saw Steffi Graf hit a forehand winner off Chris's second serve a moment ago. What will she do here? point, I think Chrissy looked like she was a little bit tired.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. She has a face of fatigue there.
Just watch her reaction here. She looks like a boxer in about the 12th, 13th round. Just a little heavy-legged, heavy-handed. But she's hanging in there, deuce. 4-all, second set.
Looked like a physical or maybe a mental sigh as well. Deuce.
But you don't win 153 tournaments without a lot of competitive fire. $153. Astounding.
Break point.
That expression said it all.
She hits those shots so flat, you know, there's not quite the margin for error that the top spinners have, and you wonder if she's going to keep hitting them with pinpoint accuracy. That time she did. It's deuce.
And there was a serve that resulted in a free point, which is huge at 4-all deuce to come up with that big serve. Someone like Chrissy, who's not known for her service, that took a lot of guts and it worked, and now she has a game point for 5-4.
Yep, on the line on the return.
Steffi's not shy on those big points. She goes for it.
Third deuce.
It looked as though she decided at the last minute to come in.
Yeah, and again, that's her forehand approach. That's the third one she's missed this match. It looked like if she was feeling a little fresher, Arthur, maybe she wouldn't have decided to come in on that, but she realized she's got to try and end some of these points.
This is the third break opportunity as you look at Mr. Graf for Steffi. High-quality tennis from both players, but Steffi has the break, and when we come back, she'll serve for the match. The International Tennis Center is packed, 12,000 plus, watching Chris Evert and Steffi Graf duel it out for the title here of this championship. That's Andy Mill, Chris Evert's fiancé, and that is Mr. Graf, of course, that's Steffi's father. And Steffi serving for the match.
Love to see.
Serve clip, the jammer serve to Chrissy's two-handed backhand, so she can't get her arms extended.
Pam Chris has made a few errors, and of course so has Steffi, but overall it's been a very high-quality match, hasn't it?
Very, very. It's been fun to watch.
15 all. Oh, he tried to guide the volley and missed it.
30-15.
Steffi Graf 2 points from the mat.
And there we see Chris very disappointed with herself. She's got her hands up to her face. A lot of players would have vented quite a bit of emotion there, but we just saw Chris turn around, walk back, get ready for the next point.
Great approach.
Great also considering Cliff, she's missed 3 or 4 of those in that match. She's not confident oftentimes coming into the court with that forehand. Chose this time to go back cross court.
Interestingly, her approaches into the forehand side have worked better today than into the backhand side.
She looks a little tired. That was a little bit of a tired mistake to me. Steffi's toweling off at the back of the court. We saw the thermometer earlier registering over 120 degrees on the court surface. It's match point, 6-4, 5-4, 40-30, Steffi Graf serve.
This is a Grand Slam format championship. The first Grand Slam of the year was won by Steffi Graf in Australia over Chris Evert. And she has done it again, 6-4, 6-4 here in the final against Evert. She won this championship without losing a set. The #1 player in the world in no trouble at this point. Well, we'll return with more tennis after this message and a word from our local...